Motorola Milestone Review Part 5 Usability. The Motorola Milestone runs the latest version of Android, and by all accounts this is a useful but not huge upgrade to the original version of the operating system. The default home screen is pretty minimal, with just a small selection of icons. You can scroll the whole screen to the left or the right, revealing 2 extra panels, and of course you can customize this with additional shortcuts or widgets. Pressing the App Tray control brings up all the applications installed on the phone in a rather messy interface that basically lists everything en masse. Scrolling through apps, and indeed scrolling through anything, is a little strange at first. Touch any part of the screen and slide your finger and the contents slide up or down. Usually a short tap on an icon followed by a slide is not enough to trigger it. You need to be a little more determined to run something. The Milestone uses kinetic scrolling, so the screen has some momentum and keeps scrolling when you remove your finger. So the faster you scroll, the more momentum it retains. This is another feature that takes a little getting used to, but it is a good idea. The Android interface seems to use a combination of long presses and short taps to activate items, which often seems inconsistent. Third-party apps have a habit of doing their own things altogether, but then this slightly chaotic arrangement with developers is one thing that gives the Android platform such a rich variety of applications. The keyboard is a bit of a contrast to the joys of the touchscreen. It consists of a tiny set of keys in a fairly conventional 4-row layout. Each key measures about 6mm by 7mm. They are very flat with only a tiny amount of spacing, and as a consequence they're rather difficult to use with any accuracy. Some practice with a keyboard improves matters, but if you have pudgy fingers then you may struggle with it. The keyboard is made more cramped by the inclusion of a retro-looking navigation pad. Just how useful this pad will be is questionable, especially when you consider that when the rival Nokia N97 was redesigned as the N97 Mini, the navigation pad was removed. Motorola bills the Milestone as the phone without compromise, but the keyboard is definitely a compromise, as Motorola have tried to fit maximum functionality into a space that's just a little too tight for it. Running along the bottom side of the screen are 4 touch-sensitive keys for back, menu, home and search. These are all pretty essential to the functioning of the Milestone, but unfortunately they're also very easy to press by accident when using the phone. The home key is especially annoying to touch as your application vanishes into the background, and since by default there's no task manager on the Milestone, it can be difficult to get back to where you were. Android market. There are hundreds or possibly thousands of applications in the Android market. Many of them are free. The market icon has a prominent position on the home screen of the Milestone, and it's just as well because the installed application set is a bit sparse, especially when it comes to utilities and productivity tools. Most apps in the market are free, and the installation is incredibly easy. One good feature is that each application tells you of the privacy implications when installing it in plain and clear terms. It must be said that the market application seems to be quite buggy, often not responding properly to key presses. It's possible that these issues are caused by a loading issue on the back-end service, in which case Google needs to add more capacity. Connectivity and call quality. It's easy to forget that the Motorola Milestone is actually a phone, and it certainly makes phone calls. The on-screen dialer is easy to use and has all the functions you'll need. Contacts can synchronize with Google, which makes it easy to keep track of names and numbers. Call quality is good, and we had no problems getting 3G or a 3.5G signal with the phone where coverage allowed. Wi-Fi connectivity is also on a par with devices of a similar size, although remember that a little handheld device is only going to have a small wireless antenna. Don't expect the same performance that you get from a notebook. Shockingly, The Motorola Milestone doesn't support tethering, so you can't use it as a modem for a laptop or connect through from a GPS device or other Bluetooth connection. But, as you might guess, there's an app in the Google market that might help fix this called PDA-Net, but this only works for PCs and Mac clients. If you want to connect to anything else, such as a sat-nav, then there's a good chance that it won't work. There are rumours that tethering will come to the Milestone Android sometime in 2010, but as it is, this is a serious flaw in the Milestone. Other features. We've really only covered the major features of the Milestone in this review. There are other interesting applications such as Google Mail, support for corporate exchange servers, voice search, a phone portal, that means you can access the Milestone over Wi-Fi, Google Talk, and a dedicated YouTube application. And as we said, if what you want isn't installed when you get it, there's a good chance there's an app for it in the Android market. Conclusion. The Motorola Milestone is easily one of the most powerful phones on the market, and the software is every bit as good as the hardware. Integration with Google is excellent, the web browser is first-rate, and the software is easy to add to. There are some problems with video playback on higher resolution clips, and the keyboard is a little cramped, and you need some practice to avoid the touch-sensitive screens on the front. More seriously, that poor camera and the lack of tethering let the Motorola Milestone down somewhat. Although the Milestone has flaws, then so does the competition. We think that the Milestone is an excellent choice if you're looking for a high-end smartphone, although it is still very expensive.